Hey.
Welcome back to another All Things Marriage. I'm Derek.
I'm Crystal with my jazz hands.
Right. So last week, we were discussing
intimacy versus sex.
And apparently we didn't talk enough about the sex.
Yeah, we kind of went, a little further into the intimacy.
Right.
Or just kind of rambled on.
So we're going to continue, we're going to continue with that discussion this week. But before we do that, as always, we want to say thank you for all the love and support out there.
Yes.
Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the comments.
And the
Thanks
shares.
for the shares.
We love you guys.
We appreciate you.
That was a bad.
Oh, we appreciate you. Anywho, let's jump right in. Intimacy versus sex.
Yes.
What we got?
So last week we talked about intimacy and levels of intimacy,
right,
and how we have to reserve a level of intimacy for our partners.
Right.
And I think that's a good segue into the sexual part of it. And last week I talked about how me and my best friend don't necessarily have certain conversations.
Right.
I think those certain conversations are left for your partner.
Okay.
Because again, when you let other people into your relationships, into your life,
right,
they have different opinions.
Right.
They have different thoughts.
You give them license.
To say whatever their opinion is. And it may work for them in their life.
Right. I agree.
But in yours, it may be different. So certain conversations, I don't feel, should be had with other people. That doesn't mean there's not a level of that conversation to be had or could be had with friends and family, but certain descriptions and in-depth conversations should be left for your partner.
Right. And so, and that too, we also discussed a little bit last week that the concept that intimacy builds into sex. Intimacy grows into sex. Like it's not the reverse. Sex shouldn't be creating the intimacy.
It can, but it leads to more complications.
Right. It's like sexuality or sex extends the levels of intimacy that's already there. It grows the intimacy that's already there. However, if there is no intimacy, but there's sex, the sex isn't creating intimacy.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's creating friction. It's creating. I told y'all last week I'm like 12. It's creating friction and it's creating conflict. It's not creating intimacy if you have the sex without the intimacy. So,
and I think I thought about it when you said all of that you said. Intimacy helps you understand your partner in certain ways.
Yes.
Say for instance, you have a partner who's been molested or has just the overall bad experience with sex.
Right.
And within intimacy, you're going to have those discussions.
Right.
You may not have, I was raped at 3, but you will have conversations of, I feel uneasy. It makes me feel as though, the man is dominating me, or, vice versa. And you have those conversations, which creates another level of intimacy.
Right.
So once sex is introduced into the picture, as the other person, you understand that if it takes a little bit more time to get everything going, if it takes, having a conversation first.
And there are certain limiters in the bedroom. You understand those dynamics. And it's important to have those conversations, and not just the conversation, but it's important to, as we said earlier, intimacy is about experiences, to share in those moments. Yeah. Because the conversation is important, but it's also about the moment of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because
I thought you were about to say the moment of sex.
No. It's the moment of the conversation.
It is.
Because again, your intimacy level is based on the experiences that you share. And so if that moment of vulnerability introduced, and then it's not portrayed in a sensitive manner, or it's not received in a sensitive or appropriate manner, then that dictates the level of intimacy concerning that thing. And so you may shut off a doorway, close off a pathway into your relationship, or you may build a wall in your relationship because the moment wasn't handled with care.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not even just because the conversation was there, you talked about it, but the moment wasn't shared properly.
Right.
Or the moment was mishandled.
Right. Right.
So yeah, let's look at the sex aspect of it.
Okay.
Right?
Sex is beautiful.
Sex is wonderful.
Yes.
You were supposed to say something else that sex is.
Sex is amazing.
Sex is love.
Sex is needed.
Sex is entertaining.
Okay. Sex in the context of marriage. Sex in the context of marriage is a very beautiful, biblical, important, and spiritual action. Right. We become, like you said last week, soul ties with individuals when we do have a lot of sexual partners. Again, we have a lot of emotional, psychological things that each individual person possesses. Right. So when we become sexually interactive with other people, right, we pull that, whatever their experiences is, right, into us spiritually. And that causes a lot of emotions. Right. It causes a lot of thoughts, negative, positive, whatever you may have it.
This is, and I'll say this, and this may be somewhat of a controversial thought, especially to some of our more traditional Christian, minded viewers. Mm-hmm. But honestly, from my perspective and my understanding, sex is one of our keys into understanding or the divinity of God, right? Okay. And I say that because we're in the Bible, we're first introduced to God as a creator, mm-hmm, right? As the maker of things, right? Right? The very first book of the Bible, the very first line of the Bible, in the beginning God created. Right. Like the very first thing we're introduced to him as a maker of things. Mm-hmm. And then so God, the maker of things, who made us to be like him, mm-hmm, and then in all the things that he made, the one thing that he formed physically with his hand that he cherished above all things else is mankind. He mm-hmm made man to be like him. Mm-hmm. And then so he made the pathway into creation, the pathway to make us most like him, a creator, to make other things that he cherished, other people, mm-hmm, is sex. The way he made us to create other human beings, right, is sexually. Yeah. That's how we regenerate. That's how we make more of the thing that God cherishes the most. Right. So it's a direct link to us and God and our divinity. Mm-hmm. And so we should look at it in that light and in that level of intensity and that level of significance, that level of importance, and therefore it's not something that we should be sharing with everybody, because essentially we are sharing a part of our connection to God with literally everybody when we go out here and we're just like, we just like it.
You didn't have to say something.
I mean, so
I can agree with that. I can see that.
So that being said, like it's definitely an intimate thing.
It's very intimate.
God.
It's the deepest level of intimacy that you can have with an individual.
Right. The Bible even uses it or frames it in the capacity of knowing a person. The Bible, like, you know, like
and he knew her.
Yeah, when like like he married this one and this and then the third, and they, like, the Bible says with Adam and Eve, you know, they were, you know, removed from the garden, and, you know, the woman was named Eve, blah, 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 and Adam knew Eve and bore a son, Cain, and another son. You know what I'm saying? Like it's,
so sex is not intimacy as a whole, but it's the deepest.
It's the deepest level. Like, again, like we said last week, it's the final form. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's that Super Saiyan God mode, right? Mm-hmm. Sorry, but it's intimacy at its highest, most intense level.
Gotcha.
Right, which is why it's reserved for the union between two people under God. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's why, and that's one of the reasons why God puts so much significance on the sanctity of marriage, because again, he made male and female and gave them the collection, the union of them, the ability to rule, the ability to dominate. So you can only dominate in unity when you're in unity with God and unity with each other. And so sex is the culmination of that unity. It's the culmination of two people coming together in perfect harmony to dominate and make new life, to create new.
That's why they say sex is powerful.
I mean, it is. It's the one thing that creates new. You know what I'm saying? It's the one thing that can create life on this. You know what I'm saying? On this earth. That's how life is made, through sexual communication, through sexual intimacy. Right. And so for to abandon, and I ain't gonna say to abandon, but to pervert that. You know, to prostitute that thing, and to pass it around, and to minimalize its significance, and limit the significance of it to it's my body and I can do what I want, is a disservice and a dishonor to the one who created you. Right? So, but yeah, it's your turn.
That's why
I was gonna keep going.
That's why it's appealing to so many people.
Right.
That's why sex sells. That's why sex is powerful. That's why it's okay. You get the smallest child, and there's something that they're gonna do or say at some point that leads to sex. They're going to gravitate to sex. Right. That's why when we were younger, our parents wanted to go like this, and that helped actually our curiosity more than deterred our curiosity. Right. But sex is just like, ooh, what's happening there?
What is this?
It's a part of our DNA. It's a part of what we were created for.
Right.
God wanted you to enjoy it. He wanted us to enjoy it.
It's a gift.
And experience it. Yes, it is. That continues to produce more gifts.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's why it's so appealing to us, because, you know, it's this powerful thing. And to have it, you know, when we were younger, it was a brag to say if you were being sexually active, or, you know.
Which it shouldn't have been.
It really shouldn't have been.
Younger, it shouldn't have been.
It really shouldn't have been. But, you know, in high school, it was a brag to, you know, be kissing somebody, or, you know, being sexually active, because we had this thing. But we didn't know how to control the consequences, the effects of the thing.
We didn't understand its importance.
Right. We didn't understand how to, again, deal with the emotional ramifications of it. You know, some people can have sex and just, it appears as if it doesn't bother them. Right. Whereas the person that they had sex with is just like, I am toe up, you know, from the floor up, and I don't know what to do with myself, because this person is not calling me back. They don't want me, because, and it affects both individuals. Right. Even though the one person's like, I don't care, it still affects them.
Affecting you. Right. And it's because you took, again, you went from base form, and I have to keep using my anime reference. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
But you went from base form to final form, and you skipped all the steps in between.
Yeah. So it's empty.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like a a person using steroids
to
to gain muscle, but you're not putting in the work to build the strength, and you feel like just because now you got all the muscles, you're gonna go hop on this bench and bench press 400 pounds, but you haven't actually worked at it. You're about to kill yourself. Like it's so important. Like I said, it's so important, and it's so significant. And the mental strain, especially at that younger age, came because you jumped to the final stage of knowing, as the Bible says, knowing a person without having known the person. And so now, like you said, you're dealing with all these emotions and all these things because you connected yourself to this person without any of the foundation to be able to support that connection. Right.
And I have a working theory that the person that you can, you experience and you see, and they have so many emotional challenges. Not everybody. I say this, I know, because I'm a counselor. Not everybody, but certain people, because clearly there's generational stuff that comes into play as well. But we are emotionally unstable or emotionally struggling in areas of intimacy and connecting with individuals because either we've experienced sex too early, we've experienced sex in harmful ways that aren't positive, inappropriately, or outside of the context, which is honestly probably all of them, outside of the context of the original design for it. And we don't understand that having sex with individuals cause us to put on their emotions and their inabilities to cope with different things, and we're trying to figure out, well, why am I now so sad all of a sudden? And it's just like, well, the last partner you slept with, they may have been dealing with depression, they're dealing with, rape or whatever, they're dealing with those emotions that they haven't really, worked through and coped with, and now they put it on you. And you can say, well, that's not that deep, sex ain't that deep. It is. It really is. If you discuss and talk to people that have been raped and are in the, into pornography, they're doing the films, not actually the ones that are watching, but
them too.
But there has been some disruption in the way they have been introduced and experienced sex.
Right, as Master Yoda would say, there's a disturbance in the force.
Yes,
I'm a nerd. I'm sorry.
Yes, babe.
but
it connects.
Yeah, but that being said, let's take a few minutes and really look at from the partnership standpoint. And I'll say the marital partnership or fiance, boyfriend, girlfriend, that path line. How do we, and I asked this question last time, but from that angle, how do we appropriately build into that so that we make sure we don't mishandle the culmination of our intimacies?
Okay. Building into sex, it starts with having a conversation. A conversation with ourselves. I'm learning this in my classes. You have to have a conversation with yourself, examine yourself, and your understanding, your biases, whatever you may have it on sex. Right. What are your thought processes on sex? What do you think that it's for?
Right.
How would you like to experience it? And then you bring that into the concept of talking to your partner, and understanding what they think about sex.
Right.
How do they feel about sex? Their experiences with sex.
Right. And I would even go so far as to say, alongside having the conversation in your own mind, understanding in your own mind of what you feel sex is, take some time and do some research, both historical and biblical research on the significances of sex, the consequences of sex, look at some of the instances where people mishandle sex.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Where they perverted the sexual aspect of their you know what I'm saying, of their relationships, of their partnerships, and how those things turned out. Look at how God views your sexuality. Because again, it's a, like I said earlier, it's a gateway. It's a gateway. It's a doorway into knowing. Right.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues that we really find ourselves in a lot of situations, especially within the church, we don't teach sex. We don't have that open conversation because we're kind of like, ooh, sex.
Sex is super taboo, right? But really, like, and when I say like study sex, I don't just mean like, oh,
go watch porn.
Right, go watch porn or go buy the Kama Sutra and look up all the positions. But no, like really dive into what it is to have sex, like how you like from a scientific standpoint, look at the physical changes that your body goes through, the chemical changes that happen in your body when sex occurs, or leading into sex, during sex, post sex, right? Like look at the chemical changes that your body takes on.
Because it happens. It's not just I'm having sex and I'm releasing myself and then I can get up and go.
Right, like literally sex changes your body's chemistry. Like it changes your actual makeup, right? The way your mind perceives things. As a matter of fact, I was looking at this video on YouTube, and if I can remember what it was and find it, I'll plug it. But it was this guy talking about what his body did or how his body responded to being abstinent, both from sex with other people as well as from masturbation over the period of like a month or 6 months or something like that. How his mentality shifted, how his body changed, like how his perception on life, his focus was different, all because he took sex out of the equation or implemented sex into the equation. And so, like I said, if I can find the video, I'll plug it in. But it was a really interesting watch because we look at it and we think, oh, you know, again, we just out here. You know, we having fun. I'm enjoying myself.
Gotta
but it's
get another notch on my belt.
Right, but it's so much deeper. It's so much more meaningful. And so again, it starts with learning yourself and your connection to sex. Learning God's design for you and sex.
Right.
So that means, you know, pray about it. Not only do the research, biblical, scientific, but it's pray about it.
You know, I want to say that people be like, pray on it. What? I had this friend, and this was my ignorance, because he was just like, yeah, I want, you know, when I get married, I think me and my wife should pray before sex. And I was just like, what? Who's praying before sex?
It sounds weird.
It sounds weird, but now that I'm older and I'm a little bit more spiritually sound, I understand what he meant. Whether he prays before marriage, like he wanted them to get down on their knees and pray together as husband and wife.
Right.
He wanted them to pray before sex. I understood that concept. Now, I didn't understand it then. I was just like, I've never heard that before.
Right.
I've never thought about that before, because I didn't understand that God has a purpose for us in being married, and he wants us to enjoy marriage and sex.
Right.
He wants us to enjoy everything that we do in him. He wants us to fully enjoy it.
Yeah.
Fully enjoy it.
Definitely.
And that's definitely sex.
Right. Like that's but yeah, so learn yourself.
I'm sorry.
We're trying to get these little key points in, right? Learn yourself.
Yes.
And your connection to sex. Learn God and his design for sex.
Yeah.
talk to God and understand God's purpose for sex for you. And then discuss with your partner and understand their perspective of and their wishes for sex for your relationship. Do those things, and honestly, if you take those steps and you honestly start that conversation, even during the dating phase, like let's not even wait till we're married for that conversation. If you start that conversation during your dating phase, by one, I feel like that puts you in a realm where you understand and it's easier to abstain from sex until you're married.
Right.
Because again, the first two stages is understanding your connection to and God's design for you for. And so even before you get to the conversation with your partner, you get that understanding of this thing is sacred.
Yeah.
And this is the ultimate level of intimacy.
It is.
And I can't share, and God doesn't want me to share this level of intimacy. This is going to sound weird, with anyone but him and my partner.
Yeah.
That's where that whole praying before comes in. Like he doesn't want this type of intimacy to be between anyone but be with me and anyone but him and the person he is designed for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you understand that, and then when you start having those conversations with that partner that you're attempting to fit into that space, it starts to become clear. And not that your marriage is solely based on the sex, but it starts to become clear when you're in that dating phase and those conversations are coming up. This person can't fit in this person doesn't have a seat at this table.
Right.
Like they don't fit into this mold because I have a clear, defined circle and understanding of what this means for me.
Yeah.
And they don't fit into that.
Yeah.
So this isn't a person I can continue
grow my intimacy with.
And grow with intimately. So
especially for this position.
Right. And so it's like, I love you. I wish the best for you. You know, we can, and that's when you get to we can still be friends.
Yeah.
But I can't keep you in this vein. And when you take it there, when you look at it there, by the time you get to the fiance stage, it's like the fiance stage comes when you know, like, the plan from a sex standpoint, from a marital, from an intimacy, from a ministry, comes when you get to that state of I've had the conversations with God. I've settled in myself and reasoned in myself that God's plan is the best plan, and this is the plan that He has for me. Right. I've talked to this other person. We're on the same page. Then that's when that's when the whole it's better to marry than to burn scripture comes into place, because at that point it's just like, I know this is what God has.
Fire and desire.
Right. You almost made me start singing the song.
Excuse us.
Right. But then you get to that point where it's just like, oh man, like I know this is where it's at. We have to make this a thing. Like we have to do.
We check with God first.
Right. Yeah. Like, but that's all a part of it.
Right.
And you get to that, man, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And then when you reach that final transformation, it's just like, oh man, like this is different. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you have to hit those target points.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta fix your focus. But once you do, I mean, it's like you've solved the puzzle. You know, you figured it out. You've solved the puzzle. That doesn't mean your intimacy is over. Your relationship is done. Like, but it grows. Deeper. It grows and it perpetuates, and then you can really have like real connection in your marriage. Real happiness, real joy in your marriage, because you've placed everything in the right lines and you're connecting to each other in the right way.
That's why, before we got together, baby, I was trying to get myself together for that 1 year.
We always telling ourselves.
What are you talking about?
That's why I was trying to get myself together.
I wanted to focus on Jesus and me. Get my mind together.
Anyway, saints of God, you know, we want to always lift up the Most High and thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, so we really want you guys to chime in. Let us know. I think the ones that have chimed in, let us know how these videos have been encouraging you, helping you, things that you would like for us to talk about. We hope that we've answered questions. We hope that we've opened your mind at least to go and study, have those conversations, have those thoughts with yourselves, prayer with God, to understand what it is to be one within yourself and with God, but also with your partners.
Yeah, and but again, we thank you, we appreciate you, we love you. Until next time,
bye.